everyone, and welcome to another Scots Whay Glasgow Film Festival podcast. And today I'm talking to the director of the feature Run, Scott Graham. Hello, Scott.
Hi.
So I'm interested in the story behind Run, but before we get on to that, can you tell us a bit about the film?
So the story is about a 35-year-old fisherman, ex-fisherman actually. He's now working in a fish factory, and his son is 17 and is doing exactly what the character Finney did at 17. He's fallen in love young, and him and his girlfriend are going to have a baby. His girlfriend's pregnant, and I guess in a way his son's coming of age is pushing him to a kind of consider everything that he hasn't done with his life, the dreams that he might have had as a young man. And so the film literally opens with him in the fish factories where he's working, and so is his son, and it takes place over that night. And basically his Finney, when his family have gone to bed, he takes his son's car keys and goes for one last joyride, but he's not expecting this, but his son's girlfriend gets into the car expecting to find his son, and won't get out of the car. She's got reasons to stay in the car, and so this actually gives him even more of an access to his youth, because she kind of is almost takes on that role that his girlfriend at the time, his now wife, had, and they end up spending the night driving around the town and racing, or looking for races, and then finally he's got to come home and deal with what's going on at home. The story sort of takes place over one night and into the next day. Mm-hmm.
So this, because the middle section, which is a lengthy section, is basically the two-hander between Finney and Kelly.
Yep.
It's quite a brave thing to do that, I think, in the middle of a film, to have so much just in a car. I was trying to think of other films like that, or anywhere like that. Another one I could come up with was the Tom Hardy Lock. So why did you decide that this was what you were going to have as your centrepiece?
I just felt like it was important to be in that world and be inside that bubble. You know, like I was sort of interested in why young men and women come of age. It's quite a really popular thing to do in my hometown, and popular makes it sound like a kind of pastime. It's more than that. It's a kind of way of life, and this kind of circle of life as well, history repeating itself. And I think it is possible to sort of feel like you're somewhere else when you're in a car, and for the town to it sort of takes on a slightly different look at night. You know, it's quite grey in the daytime, and then these pops of neon at night, and there's a lot of kind of American influence, American culture, and American cinema, and in the film. But I think also just within people's lives. I think it's kind of like the bowling alley neon and these kinds of things. I just thought it was interesting to look at it from the way that Finney sees it, and the way that Kelly sees it, and to kind of let their let what happens between them unfold. And I guess when I was writing it, I felt like there was some anticipation of what was going to happen between them, whether they were going to crash, whether they were going to leave, and none. You know, I don't want to spoil the story, but those things don't happen. But I kind of felt like if there was enough anticipation over what could happen between them, that would sustain that middle section.
It's almost, as you say, it's like a bubble where they get in and for whatever reasons don't want to leave. Also, that thing about showing the town differently at night. There's a lot of lovely comparison between almost absolute silence, and you film like the side or a bit of the grass or something like that, and then suddenly, because the sound of these cars, should say that it's joyriding is what they're doing, really, or racing, or want to look for races. Yeah. And this is something that Finney used to do in his youth, and as you say, his son now does. A fantastic scene where he's trying to start his car, and he just, it can't get going, which I thought had loads of meaning behind it. It's called Run. It starts with a quote from Born to Run, am I right? Bruce Springsteen. So there's a story behind why this inspired you to do it, isn't there?
Yeah, I mean, the closer I used to drive home, or still do drive home from Glasgow, and the closer you get to Fraserburgh, the more Springsteen you hear on the radio.
Really?
And it's you know, at a certain point I just made the connection of why he's so popular, you know, and singing about growing up in small towns, falling in love young, racing cars, kind of dreaming of leaving and not being like your parents, but ending up doing exactly what your parents have done. It's all there, and no wonder he's so popular in small towns like mine, and so although the film isn't based on any one particular song, the themes of lots of his songs, most of his songwriting is kind of there, and I was kind of realistic about what a small film could do in terms of licensing music, and so I kind of wanted those themes to be in the fabric of the story, but not necessarily relying on any one song.
Absolutely, because you've got two things. If someone who knows Springsteen's music, you start to think, oh, you know, Glory Days would fit there, you know, Growing Old would fit there, all these different songs as you see would fit in, but actually the soundtrack you use, particularly when they're driving around, is much more contemporary and kind of really fits.
Yeah, well, one of my favourite scenes is when Kelly's listening to the Churches track, and I had a track for each of the characters that sort of represented them in some way for me, and not all of them made it into the film, but in Kelly's case, it's significant because she's almost in her own bubble there at that point, singing "Make Them Gold" and not really aware of how these lyrics are affecting Finney. I mean, we had a song for Katie and for Kid as well, but Kid's music's kind of there, but it's more as an antagonist to Finney. It's more of, you know,
this isn't my stuff, and you can see when they're in the car together, it's kind of there's so much you can read into, you know, like he's been driven around by the sun, and kind of emasculation, if you like, and because Finney's not, well, I would say he's not old. You know, these are, and what I really liked about it was there's no judgment about the decisions that are made. You know, you're not saying, oh, well, they should have got out of there or anything like that. Was that something that was important to kind of get over? Yeah,
well, this is true anyway of, you know, of where I'm from. I think, and it's a recurring theme actually in Springsteen songs that the ties that bind you to your family and your community that might mean that you never leave your hometown can be worth it if that love that you find in your youth is kind of still there, and so I kind of felt I was always going to end with something hopeful, something positive, that love can be enough, you know. I think Finney's problem in a way is that he's not really appreciating what he has, and but he's kind of surrounded by love in a way, and it's almost like a sort of delayed coming of age film because it takes his son to kind of point out to it. Kind of, you know, fathers living vicariously through their sons. Quite often, the son is doing something that he didn't do, and it's sort of the reverse of this. Kid is doing exactly what he's doing, what Finney was doing, but appreciates it, seems to know the value of it, and that seems to be. I'm not saying that everything's going to be wonderful for them now, but there's enough there at the end that might hopefully mean that things get a little better for him.
There's a lovely conversation between Finney and Katie when I think he seems to see, or had seen, the possibilities in the car as a chance to escape, and she sees, no, I just saw being in the car with you, showing you that I loved you. So this symbol of the car meant like different things to both of them in terms of their relationship. You know, you say you're from Fraserburgh yourself, so this is something that you're familiar with, as these kind of racers and.
Yeah, I mean, I've been asked about this, and I think part of the reason I've made the film is because I was never really a fully fledged boy racer. I think I've slightly romanticised it, and I was really pleased to read the Springsteen biography, and he's kind of admits something similar, that cars they're kind of like a metaphor for him, and they were for me as well. They're quite interesting spaces to tell a story, and as you say, they can mean so much more. in the sort of context of the story. And so yeah, I wanted it to be authentic. I wanted it to feel like I knew something about it, but in reality I'm not really a petrol head. I just was kind of interested in someone who was. And yeah, it's actually the song that lyrically, the song that probably had the most influence on the story is Springsteen's "Racing in the Street,"
right,
which is kind of sets up the context of where this protagonist lives, and actually equates racing to living. Like, if you're not racing, you're not really living. Mm-hmm. But the story then kind of moves into his wife's perspective, her point of view, and I kind of wanted to do that with this as well, like to just have that scene in the garage with Katie where we understood it from her perspective, and that she's got frustrations too, but yeah, she saw all of that as a kind of way to say I love you. And she it was nice to watch it with the cast last night. I think they're both great in that scene.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, I think the cast are astonishing, really. There's open scenes where you just get the feeling of this character in Finney in particular, that he just feels he can't do anything right, mm-hmm. and therefore everything he does in his eyes is wrong, mm-hmm. and it's terrifying. I mean, it's so sad, and because this is a man that's trying, and in his own eyes failing, but actually other people are trying to help him, mm-hmm. and I wonder if that's something that's in Springsteen's song, but it's certainly in the kind of Scottish psyche, is that the male will not accept any help and feels that he has to be the one. And is that, there's a scene also when Kid comes down the stairs and it almost becomes a kind of competitive thing or an antagonistic thing. That's something that's central to the whole thing, isn't it? Because your films have often dealt with a kind of parent and child relationship and how complex that can be.
Yeah, and how the child's coming of age sort of impacts on the parents, almost like the child's coming of age and developing a sexuality can be difficult for the parents. And in the case of Finney and Kid, Kid coming down the stairs and saying that his mum looks hot is like a red rag to a bull to his dad, which shouldn't be the case, but it is, given how Finney is feeling about himself.
Yeah.
And and so I think he's pretty unlikable by the end. By the time he takes the car, I think that there's been a lot of aggression and a lot of hostility from him, but I kind of felt like if you spent enough time with him, you might gradually grow to empathise with him, with a character like that. But
I think that's why it's such an amazing performance, because right from the beginning, there's a scene in the supermarket with his son, and you don't want to give too much away, but you immediately go, oh, don't do that, don't say that. But there's something about, you can see that he's trying to work it out. There's something at his heart that's just so frustrating about how his life has kind of turned out. We can all see that actually it's not that bad. It doesn't seem to be that bad. Mm-hmm. So in terms of the kind of mechanics of filming it, who was doing the driving? I take it wasn't the actors that were doing it.
No, Mark did a lot of it, and Marley was sat next to him.
Wow.
We had stunt drivers there from time to time, but to be honest, they're kind of in control of how much driving. I can say, it would be great to get this shot, but if the actor's not up for it, then it won't happen. But as it was, Mark was, and they kind of went in the car with him and saw what he could do and what and he ended up doing. There was a couple of scenes where we were just on Marley, a handbrake turn, and that was a stunt driver doing that. Because she was getting thrown around quite a lot. Like a lot of the danger of the driving was almost lived through her reaction to it. A lot of it was, we knew that we couldn't recreate Fast and Furious, so it was just we just needed to do something quite simple, but that still had some adrenaline to it, and I think that we kind of needed the actors to be in the car for that, and they're going relatively fast in the breakwater, and there is the danger element of the water, but a lot of it's sound, a lot of it's just the way the engine is screaming,
because I was thinking that actually how you film those scenes in the car, it's obviously a very small space, it's a real car, that's why I thought maybe someone else was doing the driving, because you've got close-ups on them both. I mean, it's an incredible section of any film to have this close. As I say, it made me feel like it was a play, almost this two-handed play between these characters who. There's a difference in their age and there's a difference in their relationship, but actually over a short period of time they become very, very close. What was that like to film?
It was a kind of joy. They're both so good, and we started off with me and the DOP and the camera in the back of the car, and quickly I ended up in a follow car because there just wasn't room. It's a Honda Civic from 1993, I think, and so I was just kind of watching it on a monitor and listening to it, and we could just film. It's digital as well, so you can just kind of roll around the town filming, and it was like watching a film while I was making it.
Right.
Or as you say, almost watching a play, and we would stop and talk from time to time. But they both talked about how free they felt because you could kind of forget. They could kind of forget the camera was there.
Yeah, that's really interesting.
And there's literally nowhere you can really put it if they're both in the seats. You're just looking at sort of over the shoulder shots but they'd been up there for a while already and had sort of. Mark and Marley hadn't really spent time together, but Mark and his kind of film family had, and
right.
I think being there and sort of immersing himself in the world of the story, and they were just really ready to go with it when we started filming. And
it's amazing because I was just thinking, a great thing about the best films is when you're watching it and you don't realise, you forget you're watching a film. You're just really into this relationship between the two, and the kind of balance between them. So you had the first showing last night.
Yes, yeah.
And everything went. You were happy with how it was? Because it must be difficult to go and then see it and sit with an audience to watch it.
Yeah, and it's nice for me because I get a bit of distance from it. It's been probably a year now since we finished it, so I actually enjoy watching it now. And it was nice to watch with a Scottish audience. It was sold out, and the cast were there, and it was good. We had some people drive down from Fraserburgh to watch it, and it went really well. It was a nice Q&A. So. Yeah, no, it was good. I'm still kind of the dialect is quite tough at times, and there was one question about that, but I feel like you get most of it. I think you can pick it up, and so no, it was really nice screening. Yeah.
Well, Scott, thanks so much for
coming to us
today. That's great.
Thank you.
And we'll be back soon with someone completely different. Cheers.